We did want to move this to the now we know nearly 100 minutes before President Trump took the stage in Butler, Pennsylvania, that ended up in that failed assassination attempt, that there were text messages between security saying things like that they noticed a man with long stringy hair sitting on a picnic table near the warehouse at 4:26. A text went out saying that he knows you guys are up there and monitoring, but it seemed like he became a person of interest. Again, 100 minutes or so before this assassination attempt. And I'll go to Jordan and get Cece's thoughts as well. Some of this has to have some consequences here. Obviously, we saw this, the head of the Secret Service step down. Is that good enough? Where do we draw that line?
Well, what I would like to know right away is they see a kid with a rangefinder. Right then, I mean, it's not like this is a far walk, Logan. We're talking 100 yards. Why did they not approach him? Right then. And say, hey, what are you range finding over here? There's nothing illegal about that technically, but that probably would have been it. That probably would have stopped from the shooting from occurring because he would have been scared off. But instead they know we got a kid with a rangefinder. Then he's putting up a drone, a couple days before. And, the Secret Service is on site more than the day of the event. So none of this makes any sense that all it does is really show that law enforcement was noticing this, but obviously the information either wasn't going to the right person or it was going to like a phone number or like some kind of reporting number that isn't monitored correctly. And that's why members of Congress, I think, do have a role. There's the short-term role, which is how on earth did this happen? Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I want to make sure everyone know that 5:38, photos were shared in a group chat.
Right. That's disturbing.
That they had taken of who became the shooter. And then a text said, kid learning around building we are in. AGR, I believe it is. I see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage. FYI, if you want to notify Secret Service snipers to look out because I lost sight of him. That was at 5:38. By 6:11, he would be killed by one of those snipers. So a good 25, 30 minutes there. Jordan, you got something?
Yeah, I just don't understand why they didn't immediately go approach him before Donald Trump took the stage. Well, even at 5:38, or send a message. If Donald Trump had already taken the stage, send a message to him or his Secret Service so they approach him on stage and say that he needs to come off the stage.
A massive communication breakdown.
This did not need to happen with the technology that we have in 2024. So, Logan, we obviously, there does need to be the short term, and there has been. The Secret Service director is out. I told you while we were at the Republican convention, she showed up to try to brief senators, and then they wouldn't answer any questions, and she is no longer the Secret Service director. But there's got to be something done because I don't really care who becomes the next president of the United States. With the technology we have, if we're going to be the United States of America, we've got to be able to better secure our presidents so that they can still go out to the people and campaign and speak to the American people, because that's a horrible outcome if you have to just basically stop doing that. And what does it say about our country if it's too dangerous to do so because we're so partisan?
Right. Cece, this was 25 minutes before he took stage, and one of our producers just puts very routine for the Secret Service to delay someone from taking the stage, especially a presidential candidate, from taking the stage as they assess any threats. Look, we saw President Trump spoke here in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference and was delayed, and they kind of half explained why he was delayed because they knew he was there. Then they said it was because of the attack in Israel, because you're probably then saying, okay, we need to take a step back, reassess. But I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think it's, the fact that they had texts going back and forth and the fact that they literally sent pictures of this young man. Clearly they had identified that he was a threat. And the fact that they did not take action, that they didn't put more people around the building where he was kind of lurking, that they didn't have more people looking for him, that they didn't delay. That's the most disconcerting thing to me, is that they literally, obviously identified him as a threat and they really didn't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And phone lines are open right now. We have a lot of calls coming in. Let's go ahead and take one. Let's go to Phil, who is calling. Again, talk about the objectivity of the news media when you have these situations. Phil, you're on the air.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been watching CNN the last week, and they're engaged in relentless attacks against Donald Trump. They are presenting their opinions as if they were facts. They are no longer a legitimate news outlet. They are a Marxist globalist propaganda platform.
I've seen some pretty interesting reports, Phil, that CNN and some of these other organizations have actually kind of put a hamper on some of the conversations that their journalists can have outside of the press. And I'm kind of conflicted. Part of me thinks that CNN saying, okay, we need a course correct here. Look, you saw what happened, the very coordinated event that led to Joe Biden dropping out. They don't want their news anchors going on and having those kind of open conversations, whether it's CNN or MSNBC or even Fox for that matter. You don't see them doing a lot of appearances outside of their official capacity. Now, somewhat you go, well, good. They're journalists. They should just be reporting the news, doing what they do. But we know, Jordan specifically, we know that's not how it really is in 2024. It's not like what we're watching on any of the major platforms is purely fact-based news reporting. It's now probably 90% opinion, 10% news.
Yeah, you've got to, again, go to your trusted outlets. Go to people that you trust. And when I say that, I mean trust their opinion almost, because what they're going to do is they're going to take news and they're going to have a spin on it. And I think, listen, there's some news like financial news. I mean, the stock market's up or the stock market is down. But then they will go and explain to you, well, why is it? And why is the interest rate like this? And why aren't we getting a cut? So there are some things that are very straightforward and that you can know that are in the news that you don't need someone giving you a spin on. But usually, even when it's like that, the next statement you're getting is going to be a spin. It's going to be a spin by someone saying, and that's because the policies of blah, blah, blah administration are bad. Or it's going to say, that's because the policies of the administration have been great and we're going to continue to grow. So listen, that's the world we live in. That is not just unique to the United States of America. Opinion journalism and the news have crossed over. And Logan, I will tell you, every time one of these, a holier than thou journalist tries to leave that world and says, I'm going to create a kind of opinion free and it's just going to be reporting, it always becomes maybe not just as partisan, but just as much their opinion too. It's just their opinion on other people's writing. So I think it's always been tough, and I'm not sure there's ever been news without opinion. I just think we know it now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, if you watch even your local news, you can tell the spin that's coming from it, even if you think it's a very generic piece. You know, though, where the message is coming from. Just a few days left in our July Life and Liberty Drive, and we're still short of our goal. Today, we are mobilizing our offices around the world, whether that's in Jerusalem or America, to help either defend Israel or to defend your values, your conservative Christian values. And you can have your gifts doubled today at ACLJ.org. In just 2 days for Israel, we are filing what may be the most important legal brief we've ever filed in defense of Israel. And you can help stand up with us. You can help us keep us in the fight. Have your gift doubled before our Life and Liberty Drive is over, which is at the end of this month. The Life and Liberty Drive for the month of July ends. When you support the work of the ACLJ, you stand with Israel. These are very important days for us, Jordan. Again, of course, $10 becomes $20, $20 becomes $40, so on and so on. And ACLJ is built on the backbone of those individual small donations. Obviously, if you want to make a large donation, we very much would appreciate it. But that is not the core. The core is individuals standing up with as much or little as they can to put their money where their mouth is.
We need your financial support, folks. I mean, to do all of this work that we do, whether it is here in the United States, whether it's the legal work that we commit to and the cases that take years long to fight to make sure that our constitutional rights are preserved and protected in the United States, whether it is cases around the world at the International Criminal Court or opening offices around the world or opening offices around the United States. Listen, you are supporting with your donations a first-class legal and government affairs operation at the American Center for Law and Justice. And you heard Cece talk about American Center for Law and Justice Action, working with members of Congress on Israel as well. That's what you're supporting with your dollars to the ACLJ, defending your rights, religious liberty rights, your freedom, your constitutional rights. Donate today. Double the impact of your donation at ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org.